What's cracking? What's cracking? Incorporated the brand presents Giants Exist in association with Manifesto. So I'm gonna drop a little introduction to who I am. So I'm gonna get this YouTube started cracking. That way I can get a little more in depth of who I am and what I got going on here. So as far as for me, my name is they call me CHINO. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley my whole life. I moved to Palmdale, California when I was like 19, 20. You know, I'm originally from a neighborhood in Panorama City in Van Nuys. You know. I'm not trying to go out there with that, but I'm trying to keep a little insight of what I got going on. You know what I mean? So when I moved out here, I was going back and forth to the neighborhood, and I was active up until about 3 years ago. You know, of course, I had a job, I had things throughout my life, but something sat me down and made me realize situations and things, right? So, fucking shit is annoying. So as for me, about 3 years ago, I caught myself in attempted murder charge. Because at that time, my last vice was alcohol, and I was having a battle with alcohol, right? My mental health issues were off the rocker. I was negative. I was just living an unpurposeful life. I was working at Northrop Aerospace Company, and I had good money, but the devil was working overtime on getting me. I've always experienced manifestation. I've always experienced phenomenons like deja vu and other things like weird situations, and I always wondered, man, that's kind of funny, right? Until people started becoming more enlightened on the secret and manifestation and things like that, right? So my whole life I've used it in one way or the other, and I used it mostly for negative. So when I wanted things like women and drugs and things like that, I was able to manifest real good. But then when it came down to being positive, it was hard. Not knowing that what comes with the process of manifestation is the feeling, the thought process, the being grateful, the living your life every day like you already have what you want, right? And I didn't find all this out until I was fighting my attempted murder charge. So when I caught my charge due to an alleged stabbing on somebody that I knew close to me, I'm gonna go into details, but it was all alleged. I was able to get bailed out, and I was able to start the process of my recovery and getting my shit together from outside. If I would have probably fought inside, I probably would have lost. But all in all, I was able to beat that case, and I was able to begin my journey of change and hope and success, right? So with that being said, I learned that you have to be grateful. You know what I mean? You have to live every day like you already have what you want. You have to meet God halfway, and I've always been lucky throughout my life in committing crimes and doing other things, and multiple variety of crimes, and in my blackouts, and probably done some horrendous shit. But what I'm saying, it is what it is. I got away with it, but at the end of the day, cause and effect, karma is real. Whatever you put out, you get back. So ultimately, I felt like the last sit down was karma nipping me in the bud, right? So that being said, I was able to become vulnerable and reach out heavy to God and ask Him to put me in the direction and the right path for me to change my life. And ultimately, I did, you know what I'm saying? So I went to a treatment center. I was able to become sober. I was able to, during my days of my drug and alcohol program, I have like 4 or 5 hours to kill because I had to pick up my daughter, so I had to find somewhere to go. So I would go to the library, and I would read, I would study, and I would create this book, like this thick of tips and tricks of manifestation and how to raise my vibration, how to create a miracle is ultimately what I asked for. On the day that I got out, I got bailed out. I was outside of my house and I was looking at the sky and I low key teared up. And I'm like, man, what have I done with my life, man? My whole life I haven't did shit, right? And so I asked God to show me the way, man, lead me in the direction. And sure enough, I went to YouTube, how to manifest a miracle, and the rest is history. And I learned, man, and it worked, you know what I'm saying? And ultimately, that's where I'm at. You know, I'm not perfect, you know. I live in California, Lancaster, California now, and it's crazy out here. It's grimy. I live in the grimy spots. You know, I'm still a gang member. I'm not an active gang member, but you know, I still have my character defects that I'm still working on. You know, I'm not out here causing havoc or problems to anybody. You know, I mind my business. I'll protect myself by any means. My family, of course. You know, God's got me this far, and I'm grateful. And that's something that I learned too, is to be grateful. Every day, the more grateful you are, the more God will give you more. You know, every day that I pray, I don't ask for anything. I do ask for strength, for wisdom, for guidance to make me a better person. You know, and He does that. But I just ask God every day to show me, and I thank God. I'm grateful. I tell God, thank you, God, for showing me that every situation that I'm in, good or bad, is mine already, and I'm destined for greatness. I give myself affirmations. I'm positive. In my process of my recovery, I became a peer support specialist, so I share my lived experience with people. You know, sharing my story of hope, recovery, change. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, making a living of helping people. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being less of a shitty person, you know, because I was a shitty person. I was highly aggressive. I was high-strung. I was always hyper. You know, I haven't been drugs for years, but I'm a drug addict, you know. And the things for me, I have a lot of PTSD in my life, things that I've been through as far as a kid, and, you know, the choices that I made for myself, put myself in positions, you know, everything is ultimately was in my hands, and I wrote the book. So there's times that I sit back and be like, man, I should have been here, I should have been this and that, you know. But you know, you can't cry over spilled milk. It was my fault, my choices. I did the things that I did to put me in those positions for setback. But it is what it is, you know. I can only be grateful that I'm here, that I have the opportunity to grow still and learn. You know, I think that if you're in a situation, if you're at an old age where you're old and you still want to fucking do the same shit, especially in a person like me that almost lost his freedom, me in my life, you know, to the things that you know, that instant gratification and all that craziness, and I think, you know, people need to grow the fuck up, you know. There's nothing wrong with, you know, not fucking terrorizing people, you know what I mean? I find peace and I find hope and tranquility in, like, doing the right shit sometimes, you know what I mean? I'm not perfect, mind you. I just believe in a broader perspective on things, and have a different perspective on life, and a practitioner of manifestation and raising my vibrations and esoteric knowledge, and, you know, reading the Kabbalion, and, you know, I don't go too far off the rocker to where I fucking allow entities or other things in my life and take a hold of me, because this is a spiritual warfare. It's a spiritual battle out here. You know, the devil never sleeps. God is real. I know God is real for sure, and God is real, then the other side is real too. You know, I've experienced, at one point in my life, I was satanic, you know, self-proclaimed satanic devil worshiper. You know, I blasphemized every day. I hated God for whatever reason, turned my back on them. I was horrendous with my thoughts and feelings and toward God, and I lived a life of drug usage for many years. And those 10 years that I was a satanic, I was good at what I did. I was a monster, you know what I mean? And I enjoyed it. I didn't care who I hurt or what I did or for whatever reason, the only person I was hurting was myself ultimately, right? But even in those situations, I faced a lot, you know what I mean? I got cases, almost got my leg eaten by a dog, all kinds of shit, criminal cases and things that I put myself in, right? And so, I've lived both sides, and the devil knows who I was and what I was capable of, and it's always been a fight for my soul, you know what I'm saying? Since I was a kid, you know what I'm saying? I've had dreams of things trying to take my soul. I want your soul, and I'm a kid, and I feel like I've been here before. That's why I want to touch on subjects and topics in this channel. This channel, I'm going to talk on reincarnation, past lives, experiences, esoteric knowledges. It's going to be podcasting, kind of. I have a little setup. I'm going to set that up. But, maybe videos, chatting with Chino. That's my nickname. They call me Chino. So, I'm going to touch a lot of topics, religion, politics, how it's connected with the situations in the world right now. World Economic Forum, health things, rich people, Bill Gates, all these topics that people are scared to talk about. I know a lot of people are out there are opening their minds and awakening to a lot of this knowledge. It's been out there, the internet is a vast ocean of information, so people are learning and waking up and getting out of the rat race, you know what I'm saying? And it's extending. How you say? I am excelling or expanding my consciousness to a higher dimension. When you help people out of selflessness and being selfless and helping people, that's when you expand and you become who you're supposed to be, and that's what this channel is going to be for. Do some chatting here, filming at the house. I'm a business owner. I'm a clothing brand owner. I do a custom t-shirt business, custom printing business. So, and my brand and topics and my style is very ancient, esoteric, based on the government, these conspiracies, the unknown, the occult, Hermes, alchemy. I am an alchemist, a mental alchemist. I changed my mind. It's made it to something else as solid as titanium. I've been through a lot in my life. I've come a long way in my life. I'm humble, but I'm ready to roll for sure, because I'm not going nowhere until God makes that decision to take me out. I sacrifice myself every day for my family, for my loved ones, my seeds. I want to touch on topics of that, giving love to the wrong people, you know what I'm saying? I seen something the other day that the people with the highest vibrations are the ones that get hated on the most. Well, I must have a high vibration because, people attracted to me, my energy resonates high with people. I walk in a room and all eyes are on me. Babies love me, I just think outside of the box. I'm an old soul. I've been here before. This is my last mission, my journey to figure it out. I think I'm getting damn near close, and my past lives I wasn't a good person, and I'm trying to make it count on this one. So, just here trying to give some game, stories maybe on my life. I'm in the process of writing some books. I'm a new author, and I just want people to vibe and check out the tone and the vibe and learn a little bit from me. I'm gonna maybe have one-on-one chats with people that I can shoot the shit with and keep the same game to each other. And I'm on a path towards success and longevity and prosperity with my family. I'm great. I'm amazing. I'm awesome. I'm worth everything I've been through. The past doesn't, the past doesn't make you who you are. You can grow and change. I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, gang member, but I'm not. I'm just me. I'm a good person, and I just want to grow with all my kids, and I am going to grow with all my kids. I am going to live long and prosperous. I'm already doing it. I'm rich in heart and spirit and soul. Financially, I'm rich. Financially, I have multiple sources of income, and I'm abundant in every aspect of my life. Life's not perfect, but it's the choices and decisions that I make during these hard times or situations that make me who I am and continue to help me grow. I fall short every day because of certain situations, my ego, my pride, but being in the situation my whole life that I've been in, I have to stand up for myself. Even if I'm positive as hell, I can't let nobody think they can walk all over me or play me for a fool or play my love close or, that's not how it works. Polarity is one and the same, Emotions, feelings, anger, it's all one, just at different temperatures. It's like a thermostat. You can turn it up a little bit or turn it down a little bit till you get cold. I could be cold as fucking ice, or I could be hot as fucking hell. It's up to the individual that's dealing with me or working or in my face or fucking with me to get you get what you give. So, I'm just here to kick some game. That's who I am. TikTok is Giants Exist. Incorporated the brand BigCartel.com. We got Giants Exist and incorporated the brand on all platforms. And this Manifesco YouTube channel, I'll put all the links and descriptions in the bio. So tap in, like, subscribe. Get ready for some more videos, some more chats with Chino. And yeah, man, the universe is good, and I'm out here to give y'all some game from my perspective. You feel me? So peace out. Much love from mine to yours. Take it easy. Until next time.